Hi, this is Chris with GenXLifeIsGood.com. I wanted to give you an update on my experiences with the Fasting Mimicking Diet, specifically the do-it-yourself version that I've been doing with fresh home-cooked food every day. So the first time I did the Fasting Mimicking Diet was a few months ago, and I reported on that with a video every day, telling you guys what I ate, how I prepared it, how I felt on the diet, what my thoughts were, what the results were, and so forth. So all those videos are available on my playlist and my channel. But I've now done the Fasting Mimicking Diet for a second time, and I wanted to give you guys an update on exactly what I changed. I changed the recipes a little bit. And I also wanted to talk about exercise. The first time I didn't exercise, this time I did. So I'll tell you about that. And I want to talk a little bit about results, because this time I measured more things than I did the first time. In particular, I measured blood glucose, I measured blood ketones, and I also did a lipids panel for blood cholesterol. Okay, so we'll talk about all that. Before I get to a recap of the FMD, I wanted to show you the recipes. So on my website available is a free PDF with recipes for the exact meals that I had on every day of my second round of the Fasting Mimicking Diet. Alright, so if you go to GenXLifeIsGood.com and you subscribe, I'll send you a download link. Typically every day I would have a salad for lunch, and then I'd have, maybe a soup for dinner with a salad, or like a, dish of like sauteed greens or something on the side. So here, for instance, lunch on day 4 was a tomato and bell pepper salad. Afternoon snack was macadamia nuts and some potatoes. Dinner on day 4, butternut squash soup, sauteed greens, and shiitake mushrooms. Okay, lunch on day 5 was a gazpacho of kale, cucumber, and tomato. Dinner on day 5, butternut potato hash and a cucumber salad. Right, so this is available. Go to my site if you're interested. You can also download on my site a nutrition tracker that I developed based on Dr. Longo's published patents and the clinical studies, that has his exact specifications for the macronutrient composition, so fat and protein and carbs, and in fact the exact breakdowns for the fats, say saturated fat, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fatty acids, on the carbs, exactly how many grams of fiber, how much sugar, protein, and then of course all the micronutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, and so forth. So before I get to results and exercise, let me give a quick recap for people who maybe haven't watched the other videos. What is the FMD and why would anybody want to do it? So really, cultures all over the world have used fasting for thousands of years as a healing tool, as a religious ritual, and there are many benefits to it. Obviously weight loss is one of the many benefits, but things like improved biomarkers, lower blood pressure, lower blood glucose, lower cholesterol, improved autophagy. Autophagy means self-eating, so this is when damaged cells, old cells, self-destruct essentially, to then be reconstructed when your body goes into the period of increased stem cell manufacture, right? Where that is really the period where your body rejuvenates from within, where stem cells repair organs, repair tissues, and so forth. And that's really kind of the benefit that I'm most interested in, not so much the weight loss, but the rejuvenation from within. To me, that's a fascinating benefit. And the Fasting Mimicking Diet is very similar in that it gives you essentially the benefits of a fast, but it allows you to eat, right? So Dr. Longo figured out in his 10 years or so of clinical tests both on humans and on animals, that his version of the fasting mimicking diet, with the exact specifics that he has, allows you to get the benefits while you're still eating. Now, granted, you're not eating very much because it is, after all, sort of a fast. Maybe on days 2 through 5, you might take in something like 500, 600, 700 calories, depending on whether you do the FMD, that's the official prolonged diet, right? On that one, it's a little over 700 calories. If you do a do-it-yourself version, then it might be as little as 500 calories, depending on your body weight and so forth. So, but to me, that's kind of the holy grail, right? You get the benefits, you still get to eat. So that's why I did the first round, and I loved the first round. It was not all that hard for me. Yes, it's a little bit of work when you're doing the cooking, but I like the idea of doing a fresh food version, because when you're not feeding your body a lot, I feel like at least I want to feed my body the best food possible, right? So that's why I did my own cooking every day. Round 1 was relatively easy for me. Day 1 was easy, day 2 was easy, day 3 was a little tough because I had a headache, I was pretty hungry. Day 4, much easier. Day 4 actually worked through lunch because I sort of forgot, I was not hungry. Day 5 was easy. So the first round was actually quite easy for me. Lost about 5 pounds, but I felt good throughout. The second time I did it, which was about 6 weeks later, it's a little bit more than Dr. Longo recommends, the spacing out of round 1, round 2, and round 3. I guess I should talk about that. So, as a reset for your body, Dr. Longo recommends that you do the fasting mimicking diet 3 times in a row, 3 months in a row, right? You do the diet for 5 days, eat normally for 25, do the diet for 5, eat normally for 25, do it one more time, 5 days of diet, 25 days of normal eating, and then your body is sort of reset, and then all you do is basically maintenance. And for somebody who has no major medical issues, you might do it every maybe 4 months or so. Now, he also says that for people who are at their right weight and don't have any more weight to lose, he says they should regain the weight, the majority of the weight that they lost during the last round of the FMD. So that took me a little bit longer than I expected, and that's why I wasn't doing the second round exactly in his 25-day rhythm. It actually took me, 6 weeks rather than 4. So second time, day 1, I felt a little hungrier. Day 2, I felt a little hungrier than the first time. I think partially that was because since I needed to regain 5 pounds, I was eating more calorie-dense foods, I was eating larger portions, and I was eating more often than I normally would. So coming off of that onto the fasting mimicking diet felt a little tougher. But I got used to it. So, by 3, 4, it was okay. Day 3, again, same pattern as the first time. I felt a little, that's probably my hungriest day, like my least comfortable day. By day 4, especially the afternoon of day 4, I was fine. Day 5 was fine. Day 6, the refeeding day, I actually could have probably continued on the diet because, it felt really good, but I ended up not doing that. So, in terms of results, this time I didn't just measure weight. 5-pound loss, just under 5 pounds the first time, 4.5 pounds this time. But this time I also measured blood glucose and blood ketones. So what I used to do that, by the way, I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but my cat's sitting right here watching me do the video. So I used a little device called the Keto Mojo. This is a device that works with strips. You have a needle, you prick your finger, put a drop of blood on a strip and insert it here, and then within seconds it gives you your blood glucose or your blood ketone measurement. There's 2 different kinds of strips that you use for that. And The first time I did it, I used the ketostix. So the ketostix measure a different ketone body in your body. As your body breaks down body fat to make the ketones for energy, different types of ketones get released. Some of them go into your breath, right? And they're keto breath analyzers. Some of them go into your blood, which can get analyzed something like this, and then some of them get excreted in your urine, which is what the ketostix measure. Now the one that you're really interested in is the one in your blood, which is BHB, beta-hydroxybutyrate, because that's the one that your body actually uses for energy. So that's the one that you really want to measure. And it was interesting, I was comparing, I was curious to see how quote-unquote accurate the sticks are versus the actual blood measurements. So for instance, on day 5, I did a measurement right before lunch, fasted because I do intermittent fasting, so I hadn't eaten for about 16 hours. And the sticks were showing a small range, which means, yeah, you sort of have some ketones in there, but it's not a lot. And I was like, wow. And here I am on day 5, it's my last day, and I'm only showing small. And then I took a blood measurement, it was 2.6 millimole, right? Which is actually quite high. So that was really puzzling to me until I figured out that the ketostix were measuring, or were the measurement that they were taking was being diluted by the fact that I just had 2 huge glasses of tea, right? So that's one problem with the ketostix. Once I get rid of the water, and a few minutes later I measured again, all of a sudden I get a much darker result, which means much higher ketones in my urine, right? Which then actually matched much more closely the measurement I got here. So keep that in mind. The ketostix are much cheaper, they're much easier to use, you don't have to prick your finger. So I like them for that, but they're not as accurate, or they may be accurate, but only with the caveat of, okay, make sure you don't have the measurements diluted by too much liquid in your system and so forth. So blood glucose, from the beginning of the diet to the end of the diet, I was taking measurements every day, although not as consistently as maybe I should have. Went down a little bit, not dramatically, like 5 points or so. On refeeding day, I was 5 points lower than the day I started. But then on refeeding day, I also exercised. After the exercise, it was another 10 points lower. My blood glucose was already at a normal level anyway, so I wasn't expecting dramatic, results. Basically, the lowest I measured the blood glucose was on the last day after the exercise, and it was in the 60s. So ketone levels, starting somewhere on day 3 with 0.8, going to 2.6, 3.2, 3.4. 3.4 was the highest ketone measurement I took, and that was on refeeding day before eating, after exercising. The other thing I measured was a cholesterol panel, right? So typically a cholesterol test is something that your doctor can prescribe, and you go to a local lab and they draw blood and so forth. I didn't really want to go through the hassle of waiting in a waiting room and sitting in the lab and so forth. So I ended up ordering a cholesterol home test off of Amazon. There are 2 companies that do that. Okay, Kitty, I'm going to take you and put you down now so you're not right in my video. There we go. So there are 2 companies on Amazon. One test is something like $50, the other one's $55. I ended up reading reviews. I don't know how accurate either one of these tests are. I ended up going by the reviews and decided to go with the test that's $55. I ordered 2 of them. I did one test the day before I started the diet, and then I did the other test 2 days after the diet ended. So I did the diet Monday through Friday. Saturday was refeeding day. Sunday I ate normally, and then on Monday, before I ate anything at lunchtime, I did the second lipid panel. I was expecting my cholesterol numbers to come down a little bit based on what I'd read. The actual results were pretty dramatic. So the first test showed my total cholesterol just outside the normal range on sort of the, in the borderline high area, but on the low end of it. Good cholesterol was good, triglycerides were good. The bad cholesterol, the LDL, was also a little high, just outside the normal range, kind of on the bottom end of borderline high. And the total cholesterol, good cholesterol ratio was good. So I figured to come down a few points and maybe, bring me just into the normal range. As a matter of fact, my total cholesterol went down over 50 points. So I am now right smack in the optimal range. My triglycerides came down even more. My LDL, the bad cholesterol, came down a lot as well. So there too, I am now right on in the border, like right on the borderline between optimal and desirable. Those are the categories they give there. The only thing that, if you will, did not go so well is my good cholesterol, which was at a good level before, is now low. So it seems like all lipids have come way down, including the good cholesterol. But I felt it was really dramatic, how much, 50 points, that's about, 25% of the value that it's come down in 5 days. Well, 7 days really, 5 days of diet plus 2 days of eating normally. And this is purely with diet, right? So I felt that was a really amazing result. I'm curious to see, if I do the diet again, what will happen, what happens to cholesterol over time. So if I eat normally again now, does it go up? How much does it go up? So maybe if I do it again, I might actually do 3 tests, one right before, one right at the end of the diet, and then maybe another one, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, so to see what happens to the cholesterol. But I thought that was very interesting. So, my blood glucose did go down a little bit, not dramatically, but it was at a normal level anyway. My blood pressure I did not take, so that may be something I could do next time. And then blood ketones went up, that's expected. Once I started eating normally, they came down again. But then the lipids, cholesterol came down dramatically. Last thing I wanted to share with you guys is my observations on exercise. So normally, people are advised not to exercise during a fast, whether that's a water fast or, the FMD. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. I think people think it's like, well, you're not eating, therefore you don't really have your strength. You might get dizzy or lightheaded or something, which may be true for some people. But I mean, the whole point of not eating a lot is for your body to mobilize the body fat and use that for energy, right? So there's kind of not really a reason to be lightheaded or weak, because as long as you have body fat to burn for energy, you should be okay. So the first time I was too busy cooking and figuring out recipes to bother with exercise, but this time I was actually, I was testing an approach for building up my arm muscles, and that's something else I'll do a video on at some point in the near future. So I really wanted to continue during this week, and I figured, you know what, there's no risk, just lifting barbells. It's like, okay, if I feel faint or lightheaded, I'll just put the barbell down, not a big deal. So I ended up doing my normal arm exercises, and no ill effects. I didn't feel dizzy or lightheaded or anything. Wasn't any harder to do. If anything, it maybe felt a little easier, and I'm not sure why that is. It might just be my imagination. And then the other type of exercise I did on after the end of the diet, on refeeding day, I actually went for a 5-mile walk with a heavy backpack, like a maybe 35, 40-pound backpack. I do that most weekends anyway, just to kind of train for hikes and stuff. So, I was debating whether to do it or not, and finally decided yes. Same rationale as with the barbells. If it's too hard for me, I'll just stop and call my husband and have him pick me up. So I did it, and the first half hour felt a little harder. I did feel a little lightheaded, and that may have been because I wasn't drinking enough. It was actually quite a hot day. It was very humid, very hot, so probably not the smartest thing to do to go out at noon on such a day. But overall, it was not a problem. So, you know, I'm not saying go out and exercise. Obviously, everybody will have to determine that for themselves. You know, this is just my observation, my experience. You know, your mileage may vary. So, you know, think about it. Whatever is common sense, you know, maybe talk to your healthcare provider about it. But for me, exercise seemed to work. So those are basically the things I wanted to let you guys know about. The fact that recipes are now available on genxlifeisgood.com. The fact that I had really good results. Again, you know, it seemed like a fairly easy diet to do. Cholesterol came down dramatically, and I was able to exercise. So I'm probably shortly going to be gearing up for round 3. Not sure quite yet if I'm going to do it in, you know, the next couple of weeks, or maybe wait a few more weeks. But whenever I do it, I'll update you again.